record on this. Hello, 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 and welcome back to the BFA Baby podcast. As always, I'm your host, Taylor Hartman, and we have a very special guest here with us today, Jackie Marotta. She is our very first musician, college music student, whole new chapter for the podcast. So go ahead and introduce yourself. Floor is all yours.
Okay, my name is Jackie. I'm a saxophonist, so a little bit different from the average content. And I used to be a music major, and I'm excited to share more about that whole journey with you guys.
Yeah, I also TikTok sensation. I do forget to mention, but I was like scrolling and I was like, I'm gonna find some people for next season. I kind of want to branch out to different art venues. And I was really like touched by your story because I feel like it's something a lot of us, especially in like creative majors, are so like scared to like we don't want to talk about like, oh shit, you're gonna change your major. Like, and I think we'll definitely get into that. But that was like what really was like, this is an important conversation. Have someone do it firsthand. Like get her on the pod. Like, so I'm very, very glad that you're here. But let's start with just like you getting introduced to music. Let's just kind of talk about that and how we got to I'm gonna be a performance major, at least for a little bit.
Yeah. So I truthfully, I didn't start on saxophone. I was a little flute player in elementary school. And then I actually had a massive crush on a saxophone player in middle school. So I was like, okay, I need to be just like them. Like this this is my opportunity for us to be together and be in love. It didn't work out, didn't even happen, honestly, but I switched my whole instrument to saxophone and see where that got us.
Could you imagine if you were like, we're actually married now? Like,
No, I actually haven't spoken to her in about, I don't know, since middle school.
you know what? But it worked out. It got us over to saxophone.
Oh yeah, of course. And then I was like that, definitely that band kid in high school. Um, I had a really cool band director my freshman year of high school who was a female saxophonist as well. And I was like, you know what? I want to be just like her. And I was determined from that moment on to be a music teacher. And basically, that's what I told everyone. That was my whole, like, literally my personality.
The
Like,
brand.
that was my brand. So yeah, it was like in leadership, all of that. And then I moved to Texas where band is like huge. Like, that is the like place to be for band. So it got a lot more competitive, which I think really helped me um, get into music school.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like we always, it's like when I interview people and ask them like how they got started in whatever field they're in, it's always so sweet to hear like, oh, I had this director, I had this teacher, this mentor that like really like brought that in. And it like that's just so sweet because it's like that was my experience too. I had some really great teachers and some really bad ones that I was like, I'm not ending up like you.
Yeah.
But like the people that teach us are definitely like huge, huge mentors and yeah, I was like, just shout that out. Like, if you're listening, look up to your teachers. They're good people. They know their things.
Yeah,
So yeah, so we
absolutely.
got we got into music school. Did we stay in Texas?
Okay, so it was kind of an interesting process when I was doing my like whole audition process. I auditioned all around the country, honestly not in Texas. I did not want to stay
Yeah.
there. Um, I was in auditioned at University of Illinois, a couple places in California, and ASU, which if you follow me, you may know that's where I go now. Um, Actually, I didn't get into ASU. I got waitlisted,
Real.
but
So
by
real.
that point, I was so set on coming to ASU. I got into some of the other ones, but like they didn't give me enough money or whatever. And that
That's no
was like
real.
the first hurdle where I was really like, oh my God, I don't even know if this is right for me. Um, I also didn't really do my research. I think so many people go into music school or just like any kind of art school knowing so much, and I know that there are other people who are in the same boat as me. Like, I didn't know. I was just like, okay, it's college application time. Like, I like this place. I like this place. I like this place. These are the places I want to go. Um, didn't really realize how competitive ASU's saxophone studio is. Happens to be one of the best. Um, so I did end up still going to ASU. They have a program called music audition, which is kind of like being a music minor. And then you get to audition again, and then if there's space, then they'll let you in. So I, for one semester, was doing music audition, which was it was fine, and everyone was so amazing. I love my studio so much. Um, but there was a lot of like shame in that and feeling like imposter syndrome and all of that. I had an absolutely amazing TA who was teaching me lessons at the time, who I absolutely adore to this day. And she was like, no, like, we are getting you in the studio. Like, we all want you here. And I was like, okay. So I did it. I did my audition during my first semester and got in. So I did make it, but it was not easy.
Yeah, I was really excited to like start bringing other people on just because like the dance audition process for college is like you ask anyone that's ever done it and they're like it's the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Was so this is an across the board feeling. Was it just like the worst? Like
It's rough. Luckily, the year I did it, it was like 2021. So like end of 2020, early 2021. So I
yeah.
didn't really have to do the whole traveling thing, which I know like most people have that experience, which is insane. Also, so expensive. Like it's a privilege just to be able to audition for these places.
Yeah.
Like, wow. So I didn't have to do that. All of mine were like video recordings or like Zoom interviews, all of
Yeah,
that.
mine, I think I did you graduate high school in 22?
21.
21. So you're a year ahead of me because all of mine was like tail end. It was like start of my senior year. So like fall 21 was when I started auditioning. So like yeah, it was like the thing when I was doing it was like if you're within so many miles of the campus, you can come. But if you're like outside of that range, like here's a Zoom, here's a self-tape or whatever. And I feel like one, the travel expense is crazy, but two, the thing that like really got me is like people don't understand that like if you're gonna go to like an art school, you're getting into college twice at every school that you get into.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are
Like you
schools that
have to
I
get into
like,
the school.
yes, because there are schools that I got in for dance, but then they're like, you can't take the ACT well enough. You're not coming here. It's like, so what am I doing? And it's like
Yeah.
you're kind of getting into school twice for every school that
Mm-hmm.
you go out to. Yeah, no. And it's like, did you ever have to pay to submit an audition? A couple colleges were, I was like, why are we doing this?
I think ASU was like $150 just to like
Yeah,
submit a video and do a little Zoom call with the professor. Like,
yes. There was, we will not shout out the university on the podcast, but there was this university and they were like, it was like probably it was a good $200. And then we also had to like pay to apply to the college. I'm like, what are we doing? We're doing this to like, what are we doing this for? But no, I'm glad to hear that it's across the board. It's a struggling time for the artists.
mm-hmm.
How did like the people in your life and in your school react to all this? Because like it's big point of this podcast for me is like a lot of people were like, "Oh, that's what we're doing. You're doing that." Like and like did you have that? Did you it sounds like you had a great band director kind of guide you, which was awesome.
Yeah, I had a few I had mostly across the board amazing band directors because I had that one my freshman year and then she ended up moving to New York. So sophomore year I
Oh,
had a different guy.
slay.
And then junior and senior year I had moved to Texas. So I and in Texas, like one school will have like four band directors.
Right.
Um, so I've had so many amazing, band directors and just like teachers and mentors. And all of them were like so excited for me when I was like, this is what I want to do. Cause this is the path that they were on once upon
Right.
a time. And so I think it was exciting for them to see the impact that they made on me. Um, so I had great experiences. I still keep in contact with one of my band directors, the one from sophomore year, because he was a fresh out of undergrad, like had just graduated from UMich and moved to California and to teach band. So he was thrilled.
He did
um,
the thing.
he did the thing, and that was really inspiring for me. Honestly, pretty much everyone was, they knew that that was the thing I wanted to do. And honestly, like it was my brand. So everyone was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's Jackie. She's going to be a band teacher. Um, and which, you know, later down the line, which I'm sure we'll get into, ended up making it harder for me to change my major. But yeah, mostly I had all good experiences. I did have a private lesson teacher that did not help me with my college auditions at all. So I think that was the one person that like really wasn't in it the way I wanted them to be, but it was
Well,
pretty
it's
good.
so good you had a positive experience because it also just makes it so much harder when it's like you're doing this thing that like you're trying to figure out as it's happening, and everyone's like, "Why are you doing that?" It's
Yeah.
no, but that's so beautiful and so lovely. So let's kind of jump back. Your first, or I guess second semester, you got into, you were no longer a music minor, and you now were in, I want to say studio band, like we're in Whiplash, but like
Wait, do you know how like studios and music school work?
I know the broad strokes of it.
Okay.
But for our audience, if you want to get into some details, let's rock.
Yeah. So basically, it's like the group of people from your school who study under your professor. So anywhere from music minors to undergrads, all the way to people getting their doctorate. So it really is like, it could be a very positive community or a toxic one, depending
Yeah.
on where you're at. I got so insanely lucky and I absolutely love my studio. Um, but yeah, it's basically a great group of people to be like peers and mentors. And we have studio class where you, it's like a master class basically once a week, and you just play in front of the studio and everyone gives you their feedback, and it's, I love it. I
And
think
that
it's
must
great.
be so good to just have like so many different like life perspectives and musician artist perspectives like on your work. Because I
Oh,
mean, if you have
absolutely.
people your age and people like post grad all working together, like that's so much, like so many people to learn from.
Mm-hmm. And just like the amount of like accolades and awards that some of these people that I was just like casually going to class with have, like it was crazy. Like some of them have families and kids, and then there was me, I was a little 18-year-old. Like it
No,
was
we
cool.
have we have kind of a similar thing. We'll have like you know, post grad and everything, and we all get together for a thing called Dance Lab. And it's like, it's just like, it's crazy because it's like you're like simultaneously like whole people, and then like they'll be like, I'm leaving for New York to be in a movie, and we're like, what? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then they just come back to Missouri, and it's like, why did you come back? Like, it's like you have a full job and like a life, and I'm 20, but like we're peers, and like it's so
Mm-hmm.
dichotomous, but like in a good way.
Yeah, it is crazy. And then also when they're asking you for feedback, like I'm like, you're
Like
like
little old me.
just me. But yeah, that part was intimidating in the beginning. But like then you just realize everyone is just there to like really boost each other, which is cool.
Yes. No, yeah, that was like my biggest thing was like my very first semester. I'm like in dance lab and there's all these people and I'm like, they're so talented. But then it's like, dude, we're all learning. We wouldn't be here if we weren't all learning and open to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big thing. I think if you're gonna go to college for anything, I guess anything in general, but anything creative, because that's the world we come from, like
Yeah.
just be willing to learn. I think because you see students that aren't, and then it's like if you can't take feedback, you're not going to get the most out of what you're paying for because college is expensive.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, so lovely. So we you started in studio. We so did that then make you a music major?
Yeah. So I think the switch was just getting into the studio because it was
Yeah.
at that time a really big studio. Now we've kind of cut it down. But I also just didn't know how competitive it was at
Right.
first. So I think getting my foot in the door as a music audition major helped me get in because I got to like play in front of people and form those bonds first. But yeah, at that point I was in the studio.
Amazing. So was that just like a moment, like so exciting?
Yeah, I actually found out on Thanksgiving, and I was like woke up at like 5 a.m. to do a turkey trot, and my TA had texted me, and she, because she was kind of in on it all, and she
Sure.
was like, "Hey, I have amazing news. You got in." And she was like,
And
"The
then you had to go
official
run a
word will be coming
5K. Like,
later."
babe, I just want to eat a piece of cake. I don't want to go run a
I
5K
it was
right
like
now.
5 a.m. I'm like, "What?"
What is with there's been a couple of people I've interviewed on this podcast, and it has come out that they are like turkey trot like 5K family. Like, why do we all do that? Like,
I mean, I'm not from like an athletic running family or anything like that, but we just do a turkey trot, and honestly, it makes it really hard for me in relationships because a lot of people don't want that lifestyle.
no, we're like I vividly remember like when I was growing up, my mom was like a marathoner. Like,
Oh,
I think she's run like one full and two halves or something. Like she was a runner for a minute
mhm.
there. And I was like, so like we would do the turkey trots. And like
Yeah,
what is the turkey trot mom to like art major pipeline that needs to be studied? Like what is that?
that truly does need to be studied. But I'm definitely
Like
like
what is that?
I'm a brisk walker, not a
Oh,
trotter.
truly. I'm a chill jogger for the turkey trot.
Hmm.
Yeah, but like, dude, it's like, man, I just want to celebrate. I don't want to run a 5K
Yeah, and sleep.
and sleep. Yes, that is so exciting. So how did, I guess, life, schedule, performance, how did that kind of change when you went from music audition to being in studio? Was it just a complete like switch of the light, like you're in the big time now, baby, or like
Honestly, it didn't because I was able to do mostly everything for my major before I got officially in. So I was in
right,
studio class. I just like I was getting one credit for it instead of two. Like it
right.
was and I was still taking lessons and taking all of the like all my like gen eds and then also a couple music major classes because I was able to like email the professor and like they were able to let me in. So I was already on that grind.
On that
That was
grind, the grind is real.
insane.
It's so yeah, but no, that's so I can't get over I cannot get over the turkey trot. We've talked about it on the podcast this season probably 3 times already. I can't
That's
get over the
why.
fact that you brought that up.
Oh my
Um,
god.
that it's so we'll get someone I'll get a psychologist on here just to discuss the
Oh, I
turkey
can't wait
trot
for
to artists on the artist pipeline. But yeah, so it's like also I think something that I kind of wanted to pick your brain about aside from the audition is like that grind. Cause like you like all like I have friends that are in like quote unquote like normal majors and they're like, why are you taking 27 credit hour semesters? It's like, babe, I'm trying to get out of here. Like, is that like that for the music majors? Is it also just kind of like, because it's like that for the music majors here.
It 100% is like I'll give you a breakdown. So last spring semester, this is how my Monday looked. And I love to use this. I just use this as like a flex now to like non-music majors. But
You
like
got, I love it.
it was just like back to back. So 8 to 9, I had my first class, which was percussion lab. No, it was like a digital hybrid class where we were learning how to like teach using electronics.
Oh,
Um,
fun.
so that was my like little 8 a.m. Then from 9 to like 10:30, I would practice with my sax quartet. And then from 11:15 to like 12:05, I had my next class, which was string lab. I was learning how to play all the string instruments. That was such a fun class. But then from there, I had a quote unquote lunch break. However, it was normally like a scarf food down and then hit the practice room break.
That or that right there.
Yeah, because I had a lesson at 2:30, and so I would be cramming for my lesson every time. Um, go to my lesson from 2:30 to 3:30. 3:30 to 5, I had saxophone ensemble. And then I had my only real break of the day, which was for 1 hour from 5 to 6. Me and some of my friends would usually like go get a snack. And then from 6 to 8:45, I had a jazz class. So it was a nice 13-hour day.
Yeah, no, I tell people my days, I'm like, my Wednesdays, my Tuesdays and Wednesdays are easily 17 hours with ease. They're 16,
Mhm.
17-hour days, and they're like, why? It's like, because you love it, but like, I mean, you do. But
Yeah.
yeah, but because I know my friends that are like vocal majors, like we are just, it's like the handshake meme where it's like vocal majors and dance majors, no sleep. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
it's
is,
we're doing it and we're rocking and we're rolling. Well, I feel validated that my life isn't crazy just because I'm crazy. It's just the
yeah.
nature of.
And you know what's funny is on Friday I was in studio class because I'm like doing a minor right now, so
Sure.
I'm not completely gone. I just took a step back.
Yeah.
So I was in studio, and one of my really good friends and this other girl, and I think there was like three of them in the studio, and they needed to do a sectional for something they were working on in band. And they were trying to find like 30 minutes where they could rehearse together. And it was like a 10-minute conversation. And one girl was like, I could do it if we do it immediately after class. And this girl was like, well, I can do it for 15 minutes after class. And like it
Yeah.
was just this whole like discussion. And I was sitting there and I was like, oh my God, I do not miss this life.
Well, that's truly like, so we like this past week just had adjudication for a spring dance concert. So like the student choreographers like presented their work and everything. And it's like my rehearsals, like if anyone knows me in real life that's listening, like I will be in bed early. But like my rehearsals were literally like 9 to 11:30 because it's like you can only get people free when the rest of the world is shut down.
Yeah.
And part of me is like, it was fun because I'm never up late. And it was kind of just like, oh, I'm not up late because I'm like working, I'm doing things. But it was also like, everyone was like, I'm so tired. And I'm like, I know, but I need you all in the room with me.
Yeah. No,
Or
it's
it's like
not.
the advising meetings. Cause then it's like your professors are also busy as hell because they're also like working professionals. And it's like I can have an advising meeting I can have a 15-minute phone call as I walk to my next class. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it was busy, and it is a stark contrast to my life now. Like I only have class from 7:30 a.m. till 11:45 a.m. Tuesday and Thursday. That is my class schedule. Like,
rock on. All right, so yeah, perfect transition. Let's transition into like the meat and potatoes of this episode to sound like my Midwestern dad. Uh, Major switch, that whole conversation. I have some thoughts about it, some things that I think, I mean, it'll probably come up because you lived it. It'll
mhm,
probably come up in your conversation, but I think it's just so important because I think whenever it's like a consider, like you always have the moments like it's not gonna work out, and I feel like it's not failure, and I think that's the thing I want to start with.
mhm.
I will let you kind of speak, tell your story, what we're doing now.
Yeah, well, that's so true. And I especially had guilt about it because I got in through the music audition program. So I felt like they gave me a second chance. And now I'm just like, bye.
Yeah.
But it really was, it, it was a long time coming, I think. I had like a really hard year. I was dreading every time I had to touch a saxophone. Like it got pretty bad. And there was one time I was about to go into a lesson and I was practicing and I just like broke down as one does in a practice
Of
room.
course, no, naturally.
And I get to my lesson and obviously my TA was like, who it was the same TA I had freshman year because she ended up coming back for her
The one
doctorate,
that
but
rocked.
the one that rocked. And I walked into her office, she could tell I was crying and she's like, bring it on, like what do we need to do? So I kind of told her like I was just like I'm not enjoying playing saxophone, like I don't know what to do, like it's not fun for me. I feel like I'm like it's getting bad. And she was like, okay, so you're gonna take a 10-day break. She's like, I don't want you to play saxophone for 10 days. Next week during our like normal lesson time, we'll just go get coffee. Like, don't touch a saxophone unless it's for like band, you know?
Sure.
Um, because I have to go there for my grade.
Right, yes, of course.
So I took the break, I came back, and I was like, honestly, I really enjoyed that. Like,
Yeah.
really nice. And she was like, okay. Like, she actually did, I think, I think there was like a year before I came to ASU that she kind of quit and then came back to it. So she was honestly the best person I could talk to about
Yes.
this because she'd been through it. And she was like, if you need to like quit, you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. And I was like, well, I don't know. Like, there's so much stigma about it in the music
Yes.
community. And I don't want to be that girl that gives up. Like, So I was like really considering it and just like, well, what else would I do? Because since I was a freshman in high school, here I am a junior in college.
And this was
This
like
is
the thing.
yeah, this is my personality. Like, who am I without music? Like, it was really like existential, the whole
Oh,
experience.
it totally is.
So it gave me a good chance to think about what else I enjoy in life. Um, and just like, why am I a music major and what am I doing this for at this point? And I kind of realized that a lot of the reason why I've stayed so long is because that was my identity, but I don't know that that was necessarily what I was wanting. It was more like, okay, like everyone in my like friend group is a music major. Everyone on TikTok knows me as a music major. Sorry, that's so weird to like be like, hey, like, hey.
That was
But
me. I literally, when I was looking for people, I was like, BFA music performance search. I was just scrolling.
yeah, Um, but that's like what I was known for on there. And my family like knows me as the music kid. Like it was just
Right.
so much of who I was. And I think I held on to it for so long because that's who I was. But then I was like, well, do I enjoy this? Also, because it was a music ed degree, do I want to be a teacher for the rest of my life? And I do really enjoy teaching. I still am teaching until the end of this school year. Um, but I was like, okay, honestly, I don't want to be stuck in that system forever. And I have so much respect for people who do that. But I was just surrounded by people quitting teaching. And
Yeah.
um, I just couldn't see myself doing that forever. So, all of that's to say, I just took a moment and I was like, okay, I think I need to take a step back and do something else that will fulfill me for life and also to preserve my relationship with the saxophone because
Yeah.
I don't want to never touch a saxophone again. So I was like, I just want to learn to like it. And then I changed my major to communications, mostly because I have no idea what I want to do with my life.
It's so fucking real. It's so real.
Yeah, it was because of that, and also because it was like one of the only majors where I could still graduate on time.
Real.
Save
Real.
all that money. So yeah, so that's where I ended up. That's kind of how I got to that point, but it was really rough. I feel like there's so much stigma about quitting.
No,
So
this is such an important conversation. And it's like I mean, like in a less, I don't know if intense is the right word, but like every time, like I'm like currently just waiting on like summer performances to be like, here's your contract. And it's like every time I don't get one, I'm like, what if I never work again? And it's like, babe, take a step back.
yeah.
Because if you get yourself worked up like that, that's how you're like, I'm never gonna dance again. I'm never gonna play saxophone again. And it's over. But like it's so, regardless of how you get there, it's really critical to know who you are without the art. Like I'm very thankful that we had this class called God, it's like intro to the industry, intro to the profession. And the majority of it is like, what can you do with your dance degree? It's like, take this, give this class to your parents. Like, what can you do with this
Mm-hmm.
degree? But then there was like a couple weeks where it was like, who are you? Who are you if you're not dancing? Who are you if you're not playing saxophone? Or and it's like, regardless of how you get there, it's such an important, albeit hard conversation to have with yourself. But it's like it's so critical. And I'm really glad that I had like I kind of was forced to do it for a grade to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like your story, this is very relatable. There's gonna be that time where it's like, am I doing this because it's what I've always done? Or
Yeah.
oh no, I'm broke. Okay, we have 10 minutes and we'll switch to the other one.
Okay.
It's like, do I do this because it's like for me, it's like I've been dancing since I was 5. That's just been my life. And it's like, do I do it because I've always done it? Or like there's been times where I'm like, check in, do you hate your life? Or are you just sad about something in this moment? Like for bigger
Yeah.
picture, how do you feel about it? Um, and I think it's so important to be like, you like from me to you right now on the podcast, you didn't fail.
Thanks.
And I don't know if you need to hear that, but like in my heart, that's what I would have needed to hear. You didn't
Hmm.
fail, you didn't give up. And there's always that like chase the dream. Like that's literally me, like kind of energy. But it's like the dream can change.
Hmm.
The dream can change. And I think that's a big thing that I think also ties into the like I feel like I'm quitting, I feel like I'm failing. And I think was there any of that you experienced, or was it kind of just like like a mental intrinsic thing?
I mean, I don't think nobody like told me that.
Sure, sure. There wasn't just like
But
a, hey, you fucking sucked at that. You shouldn't have done that. Like, which is good that that wasn't the energy.
honestly, like it was, people took it pretty well. A lot of people were very shocked
Sure.
because I like I've said, that was my personality. So like if anyone was going to go through with it and become a music teacher, it was going to be me. Like,
Right.
and like I think people were surprised, especially in my music ed classes, because
Mm-hmm.
like I was like kind of that girl in music ed. Like music ed
She's like,
was
I
me.
was eating that shit up. I was
I was
nailing
eating it
that.
up. The professors, not even to brag, like they loved me.
No, no, speak on it. This is your space.
And I actually think my one of my music ed professors that I had last semester, I don't think she knows that I changed my major because I'm still getting emails from her like, here's this job opportunity that she sends to everyone, but I couldn't tell her.
You're like all the classmates that are like in the thread, like the also sent to.
Yeah. But yeah, it was interesting and everyone was mostly like really supportive. I feel like it was more in my head that I was like, people are gonna think I failed. And if
Yeah.
other people did think that, they didn't show it to me.
Which is
Um,
nice, which is
yeah.
polite.
But yeah, it was like really overall like supportive experience. It was deeply emotional.
Yeah.
Um, and I was terrified to tell my studio and all of that. But everyone in my studio was like, go girl, like do that. And then I also have a really close friend in my studio who kind of went through a music transition of her own and like really could relate to a lot of the feelings I had. Um, she's about to graduate with her performance degree, so she didn't quit, but um, like she kind of could relate to a lot of the things and was like really listening to me. And I especially needed that from her because she was always that girl who was practicing for 4 hours a day and loving it. Like she
Yeah.
really, from the outside, it looks like she was just like so in it, so in love with it. And then to hear that she also had the same struggles as me, like really helped me because I was like, oh, we're all putting on a face. Like,
Oh, no, absolutely, absolutely. I'm so glad you said that because there are times where I'm like, because I'm learning to get better at it, but there's always times where I'm like, I could be doing more, but then it's also like the fact that you aren't doing more is probably the reason that I don't hate what I'm doing right now.
mm-hmm.
Like kind of drawing that line of like, okay, like you can take care of yourself and take care of who you are like in life and still love the art that you do. And
Yeah.
I feel like the biggest thing, especially in colleges, universities, in colleges, but like I feel like the biggest thing is like there's kind of a stigma that like if you're not like living and breathing and dying by this, it's like you don't want it bad enough. It's like, no, I'm just taking care of myself so I don't drop
Quit.
dead in
Yeah.
this building. Right. Like if
Yeah.
I die anywhere, it will not be on the Missouri State University campus. It will not be like I can't. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's I like to use the word brave if you're going to like because that's a conversation that like a lot of people try to avoid having. Like before intro to industry was required, people wouldn't take it because of the unit where you had to just like throw up an X and not like you had to talk like be someone else, not someone else, but
Yeah.
like the other parts of you that are just like usually not there. And it's like it's brave and it's bold and I think it's important. And how are you liking your communications life? You said it was like a lot chiller.
Yeah. It's honestly so much chiller. I have to like learn how to do normal person homework and studying, which is funny. Like,
So real.
Like honestly, I haven't like really written an essay in like a few years, so um I've had to do a lot more of those kinds of things where I'm like, oh, there's homework that's not sitting in a practice room and crying. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like I don't have to divulge my emotional trauma at 8 a.m. Okay, like, oh,
yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely really different. I do enjoy it. I still don't know where I want to go with it, but um, I think I want to do something more administrative within the arts. So right now I teach with a nonprofit that kind of brings music ed to underserved communities and students and stuff. So with that nonprofit, I teach fifth and sixth grade beginning band, which was
Love.
cool. I've been doing that for a little over a year now, which was really scary when I first got hired to do it because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and all these kids are gonna eat me alive.
No,
Um,
oh my God, literally. When I first started teaching dance, I was like, oh, I can do that. Like I've done it. I've been doing this. Like I taught unpaid in high school like all the time. And then I was like, oh wait, I'm like the adult in charge.
mhm.
These kids are like, like Miss Taylor, I'm like, don't call me Miss. I am 18 years old. Like when
Yeah.
I first started, I was like, I cannot be the adult in charge. Like
Yeah. So I really have like enjoyed that experience of teaching with them. It's been really hard, but really fun. And also being a part of that nonprofit has shown me that there are other careers in music that are not playing and performing. So like there's different people with salaries that work for the nonprofit and they're putting together concerts, they're getting people involved, like different things like that that I can do with my communications degree that still I can be in the realm of music, but just maybe
fills
not.
that like artist void in the heart. Well, like I mean, we were even talking about that like the seniors that are graduating this year like just went to New York and LA for their showcases and everything. And they came back and they were like, all right, underclassmen, if you need to get a survival job, get something in arts administration so you don't want to die. So you're not like
Mm-hmm.
waiting tables and just like la la landing it and like I need to go to my audition. Like, no.
Yeah.
Just get a job that fills both parts of you because if there is that time where like I mean, God forbid you like snap your leg and you can't dance, like you're still doing something that like fulfills you.
Yeah.
And I feel like also, okay, wait, I'm gonna switch this over before I get cut off in the middle of this thought. See you in a second.
I pause.
Okay,
Perfect.
so back. All right, circling back to that thought, I think there's also, I feel like there's also sort of, at least like in the world I grew up in, there's kind of like a stigma even in working like in admin. Like even if you did like, because I'm gonna graduate with a degree in dance performance, but it's like I'm also sort of interested in like what if I like if I'm gonna work a quote unquote survival job, like let it be something fulfilling and still kind of tap into that part of me. And I'm really glad that you've like kind of found a niche in that. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
you can use this degree, you can graduate on time, and there's still that thing that's like it's that musician piece of me, but it's not just like I'm going head first and I'm gonna like die for this. Like it doesn't have to be that serious.
Definitely. And like also something I want to point out is so I have to apply for internships and stuff this summer because if I want to get a good like 9 to 5 or whatever outside of college, you need that internship stuff on your app on your resume. And I was so scared because I was like, I don't have any experience. Like I just started this major. I don't even know really what communications is.
Yeah.
Still don't, honestly, but
You know what?
it's fine. And now I have to find an internship, and I realized that my all my experience in music and teaching and all of that is valid experience. Like you learn a lot of life skills and things that you need to know for any sort of like corporate or whatever job you end up with by doing music and by teaching, by performing, all of that. And so I really discounted all of my experience in music because I was like, well, that's not an office job, you know?
That's so important. That is That is so important. And I keep saying this. I keep telling, like, when I teach like late high schoolers, I'm like, guys, even if you don't, because they're like, oh, you go to school for this. But it's like, even if you don't, there are life lessons that you've learned dancing or playing music or acting or whatever. Like, you've
Mhm.
learned discipline and time management and attention to detail, and that'll serve you like in life. And I think that's also something that's like, I never really considered it until I had a job at a Bath and Body Works like throughout high school.
Mhm.
And there was me and there was this other girl that like grew up dancing. And she was like starting her own company and she's like now like works in publishing or something to do with like how are published. She's somewhere in that chain of publishing. And she's like, if someone mentions that they did anything artistic, I know that they will have the attention to detail that I need. And I look for that. So it's like everything
Mhm.
is relevant. And I'm glad you brought that up because I don't think I've had a conversation yet that's been like, it's relevant and it's like, hello. It's relevant and it's life and like credit what you do. You learned.
Mhm.
You learned. And I think it can be hard depending on what you're applying for. Because if you are applying for like I'm gonna sit behind an office or a desk at an office, it's like you don't like they give you the credit that you give yourself.
Mhm.
And that's something I learned applying for like just weird little like minimum wage jobs. It's like if you put the credit into your knowledge and skills and experience, they'll give that to you.
Oh, absolutely. Like I was interviewing for a um internship this summer and I did end up getting it. It's not has to do with anything with arts, but they were asking me a lot,
Rock on.
thanks, about my experience and I was like, well, to be completely honest with you, I just changed my major. Like I haven't taken really any classes about this, but here's what I can offer you. Like I've been a teacher. That takes so much communicating and marketing and all
Yes.
of that. I even like I've been a server a lot as like just side jobs throughout high school and college, and those are all skills that help you
That's
in
all
community.
communication.
It really is. So all of my experience being a musician, working with other musicians, being in a quartet and like in ensembles and stuff, like those are all the same skills that you would use for this career. So any kind of music experience, any kind of arts experience you have helps you eventually down the line, and don't discount that.
Yes, and that's so important. That's the takeaway from this episode. That's the biggest thing. It's real and it's valid and it's like just live in that. Just live in that, I think is
Mhm.
the biggest thing. All right, so do we have any fleeting thoughts before we get to the fun questionnaire part of the interview?
I don't think so. I'm ready.
All right, I like to end interviews with like interesting get to know you questions.
Okay.
Um, Here are the ones that I use. Okay. If you had the attention of every single person on the world for 30 seconds, what would you say?
Wow.
They
um,
get a little more fun. I was like, I'll start out with the one that I think is most interesting, and then they get a little more
wow.
fun.
That's a big question. Um, ooh, probably something along the lines of really paying attention to and appreciating your educators in life growing up.
It's so important. Yeah, love on your educators.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite thing in your fridge right now?
Ooh, um, I just went to the grocery store today. What did I buy? Oh, Grillo's pickles.
Ooh, okay, so I'm not a pickle girl. So can you speak for the pickle people in the audience? Are those good pickles?
They're very good pickles. They're a little more vinegary, and you can buy them in a 32-ounce container from Costco.
Are they on the the pickle jar sweatshirt on TikTok?
I actually don't know if they
Oh,
are.
let me just pull that up. I like
I love
um
the pickle jar sweatshirt.
I like have no idea why TikTok thinks that I would enjoy this pickle jar sweatshirt because I'm not. I don't interact with pickle content.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is
They
it
are,
on
or I think so.
the pickle jar sweatshirt?
Yeah, right there in the
Yeah.
top, um, right.
Oh, amazing. Oh, though that is kind of like a massive thing of pickles.
Yes.
I love that. Okay, amazing. The pickle. So, not sponsored by this pickle company, but
We do
if
love
you
them.
if the pickle if the pickle company is listening, drop me a line. I'll shout you out on the podcast.
Brillos wants to do a brand deal, let me know.
I'll actually, if they want to do a brand deal with me, I'll actually just pass them off to you. I'll be like,
You're like,
actually,
these are so good.
no, I think the brand deal is we split it 50-50 and it's just this clip.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what's your favorite thing in your fridge right now?
Brillos pickles.
Period. End of brand deal. Where do you not mind waiting?
Oh, um, probably in the like little courtyard of the music school in between classes. I love
Aw.
that because we have a little outdoor, it's Arizona, so it's nice out most of the time area. And there's just always people walking by, people doing things. I love to people watch. So it's
Okay,
a
no,
great.
that was my next question. Do you like to people watch? I love people watching.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite is I teach a couple like dance cardio classes at our rec center on campus. And my favorite thing is to get to work early and just sit in the studio and just like watch all the different types of people walk by.
Yeah.
Or like what they're doing, or like when the gym bros have the conversation at the water fountain. Like it's
Oh
just
yeah.
my favorite. It's just like my favorite thing to do.
I also love my apartment gym, like looks out at the like pool area of my apartment. And there's always weird stuff going on out there. Like somebody's always
Yeah.
like, drunk or doing so. I'll be on the treadmill, like it's like a free TV show out the
Oh,
window.
literally,
Like,
our gym window like faces there's like a rock wall, like rock wall climbing thing, but then it faces the like dorm that also houses like the main dining hall, like when you live on campus. So it's like
mm,
seeing everyone like walk around and like every single human being you could ever imagine like coming and going, and people like climbing up the rock wall backwards, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, no,
so
dude,
entertaining.
gotta love people watching. We had a whole assignment in one of this is going so off the rails. We had a whole assignment in one of my acting classes, like two people watch,
Mm-hmm.
and then like it was so flawless because I had like a break in my day, which like never happened. Like one of my classes got canceled, and I had to go do some homework at the library, and I was like, I'm gonna sit outside and also find someone to like do my acting assignment on, and it was like it was like the gods above heard my assignment because this guy walks by and he's like violently arguing with someone on the phone, and I'm like,
Perfect.
sir, it's 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Like, what are you doing? Also, this is
Are
don't
you
have
mad?
this. Why are you mad? Also, don't have this argument like in public. Like, go sit in your car for this. Like, what? But I
Mm-hmm.
was like, dude, you gotta love it. You gotta love it.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
let's see. What was the best thing before sliced bread?
Before sliced bread, when did sliced bread come into
I can
existence?
give you. Let's find out.
Okay.
When did sliced bread come out? Sliced bread was dropped in 1928.
Yo, they just dropped this new thing called sliced bread.
Hey yo, new
1920.
bread just dropped. It's in pieces. Like,
I think the saxophone is older than sliced bread, so maybe I'll say that.
when did the
I think like
saxophone?
18 something. It's pretty new though.
Saxophone dropped in the 1840s.
Perfect.
Look at that. That's that question ended up lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually people are like, I don't know. We usually end up on like musicians, or I always say Jay
Oh,
Gatsby was the best thing since
okay.
sliced bread.
Okay. Um, if we're going like a people route, I will say, I mean, like Bach really ate music
Fuck,
up.
really?
He really ate. So
I'm in a class called Music Resources for Dancers, and we were literally just talking about like Bach and Mozart and like that whole era. And our professor, shout out Kyle Aho. I know he's not listening to this, but shout him out anyways. He was showing us this YouTube video, and it was like the sheet music and like where it was playing, and someone he just starts laughing, and we're like, what are you laughing at? Like we're just watching this video like on the projector. And he pulls up the comments, and someone was like, was like, this shit goes hard at 6 minutes and 3 seconds. It's like,
And it does.
and it does. And it does. We like to tell Kyle about like the slang. Like, so when he plays this music that we don't like, we're like, would not bump this in the car.
Mm-mm.
And every time he plays, would you guys bump this in the car? We're like, sure, we'll bump Bog in the car. If you could be a member of any TV family, which would it be? I guess this could
Ooh,
also extend to TV friend groups because my answer is How I Met Your Mother. I would be
okay.
there.
I feel like I would want to be a part of Jane Villanueva's family from Jane the Virgin.
I've never seen Jane the Virgin.
Favorite show, and her family is just so precious. It's she was raised by her mom and her grandma, and then her dad came back into the picture, and he's just like
Shout out,
this
Dad.
wholesome, wonderful like actor who's like a little too caught up in his own fame, but like at the end of the day is such a sweet guy. Like
That's so famous. Okay, work. I'll have to. I remember like there was a period like my freshman year of college that like everyone was watching it like on my floor, and then
so
I just
good.
never got. Okay, I'll have to look. Where do you watch it?
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
The
Tuning
whole
that
thing. There's
in.
5 seasons, so it's not too long, but they're good, like 18 to 20 episode seasons.
Oh, so, but is it like that 22 minute like half hour type beat, or are they longer than that?
No, I think they're like 40 minutes.
Oh, so you can like have a meal and watch an episode of Jane the Virgin. Don't have to.
Definitely.
Don't have to
It's my
hop into that. I love it. No, I think I'd be part of the How I Met Your Mother friend group for a few reasons. One, How I Met Your Mother was the first show that me and my sisters like all watched together. It was like a core memory. Two, they live above that bar. That's really fun, and they like have all their quirky like New York like friends.
yes.
Uh, three, I want Robin Scherbatsky to teach me how to shoot a gun, and that's all I have to say about that. That's all I have to say about that. If you could disinvent one thing, what would it be?
Disinvent. I think I would disinvent the patriarchy.
Oh no, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, I'm gonna disinvent the female standard. Like,
Literally.
okay, if you could disinvent an object, what would you disinvent?
Okay, sorry.
No, no,
Um,
no. But I want to hear both sides of the coin. But I was like, that's so funny.
oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I'm trying to think of things in my life that are like really hard to use for no reason.
I would disinvent the penny.
Oh, yeah.
Canada
Honestly,
discontinued the penny. Canada hasn't had a penny for like a minute.
really?
Yeah, let me figure out when that happened. That happened a while
Didn't we
ago.
used to have like half pennies too
Did we?
back in the day? Like I think it's called a hay penny or something.
Oh, I don't know. Discontinue. This is becoming a history lesson. The penny. No, well, like I'm just also a hater of carrying change. Like
Hate it.
if I have cash, it's like a single $20 bill. I hate carrying change. I hate it.
And cash is not real either. So like
That no,
whenever
the
I spend
valid.
cash, I'm not spending any money and it was free. So maybe
Real.
cash because it really feeds my like spending problem.
I agree. Pennies were withdrawn from Canadian circulation on February 4th, 2013. So they've Oh, the final penny. This is now a history lesson. The final penny was minted at the RCM's Winnipeg, Manitoba plant on the morning of May 4th, 2012.
Rest in peace, pennies.
Rest in
May 4th.
peace, Canadian pennies.
That's
No, like,
crazy.
no, that's so valid that cash, like, if the number on the US bank app does not change,
I didn't spend any money.
it's just like, it's not, like, I have to, every time I joke about that, I have to acknowledge that, like, no, I did spend money, but, like,
I did, but yeah, no, I especially being a server for so long, like a lot of the money like you get at the end of the night is just cash.
it's just
They just
cash.
hand you your tips in cash. And so I have to take that right to the bank. Otherwise, it's just going to be spent
Oh,
on random.
no, if I, like, because it's like a thing, like if I leave my college town and like go see my parents, like I'll get us like a lottery ticket on the way out. I don't even know when that started, but it did. And if I win cash, like the $10 bill that they hand me that I won, right into the bank because I will just like be like, and then I will buy food that I don't need. And I'm like, what am I?
Yep.
I'll be like, oh, I can get a sweet treat. No, you can't. No, you can't. You get paid once a
No,
month.
you
You
can get a
cannot buy
sweet treat. That's a valid use of it.
You can get a sweet treat. You can get a sweet treat, but sometimes I be getting sweet treats that I do not need.
So
I
true.
financially do not need. Well, let me find. I'm kind of run. Ooh. Okay. You've been given an elephant and you can't get rid of it. What are you doing with it?
Honestly, probably riding it down the street. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like that would be
I
so cool.
I like to say I think I would enter it into a circus. Like I would train it to
Okay.
be so then like I'm making money off of it. Not in like a way
Okay.
like make money off animals, but like if I'm gonna be burdened with this big ass elephant.
I just think, like, especially here in Tempe where ASU is, like, you just see the most insane things on the street. Like, another one of my favorite people watching things is I'll just go, I have a little hammock on my balcony and I'll just go lay out there and kind of just
Yes.
listen to the world go by. So a lot of times we'll see the Wienermobile. I don't know if you've seen her, but she tends to be
I've not
around
seen her. What
the
is
Oscar
she?
Mayer Wienermobile.
I've seen the Red Bull one. Red Bull has one of those.
We have a Red Bull, it's like a Mini Cooper with a Red Bull can on the
Yes.
end of it.
Yes, yes. I've seen her. She loves Springfield. I have not
Um,
seen the
the
Oscar Mayer.
Wienermobile is amazing and it's obnoxious.
Are they
So
in Arizona? You can drive that thing? Stop. Why does it kind of look like a plane? Like what?
it's insane. And it was the
They just
best
drive
moment of
that
my
on
life
the
the
road?
first time. Yeah.
Street
Imagine just like
legal.
driving. Like, I think the first time I saw it, I was like driving to Trader Joe's and like the shock of seeing the
The shock that I saw the Red Bull one. I saw on like the highway going back to where my parents live. And it was like late at night because I left from a rehearsal and I literally was like what the fuck was that? Like am I hallucinating?
Yeah.
Like
So I think if I just started riding an elephant around, it would bring a lot of joy to
I
people.
think it could also, circling back to the fact that you're a TikTok star, I think that it could also that could be a brand deal thing. Like like the people on like Fiverr that like write brands on like their arms.
Yes.
It could be like that.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I see that.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
could be like a walking billboard, but it's also you riding an elephant. And you could like dress it up in little costumes.
I think it would be really fun. I also have seen that elephants are like really gentle and sweet, and I would love to have a little pet elephant. Like, I would make sure it has enough like land to live on. Like, I don't want an
Right,
elephant
right.
stuck in my college apartment,
Real. And
but
you can't be like, I have an elephant and I live in Midtown Manhattan. Like, you can't be doing all
right.
that.
Like, animal rights for sure, but also
Animal
I
rights for sure. Animal rights. Animal rights for sure. In this scenario where we are just presented with an elephant that we cannot get rid of.
yeah.
That is so funny. That is so funny. Animal rights for sure. Let me find a better list of questions because I've asked these for like a bunch of people, but
Okay.
like I'm like I need to get better. Ooh, okay, these are good. Would you rather have water powers or fire powers? I have a solid answer.
Oh, definitely I think water.
Yeah.
I was a swimmer a lot growing up, so
Oh,
I feel like I already
work.
have some powers.
No, I just like I'm also scared. I think fire can get out of hand very quickly.
Yeah, I'm scared of fire.
I am we had to like light I'm in this costume construction class and we had to like light the ends of like the ribbon that we were using and I was like, can someone else do it? I was like, please Gabrielle, can you do it for me?
Not to
Because
like
like
trauma dump on this podcast right now, but when I was
no,
a
no,
kid,
please
I
trauma
would
dump on
lay
the
in bed
podcast.
like terrified that my house was just gonna catch fire like in the middle of
No,
the
no, we all live that. Or like I'll hear my roommates who are very like capable and intelligent women, and I hear them cooking and I'm like, it's fucking over. I'm
Yeah.
like, our house is gonna burn down. And it's like, no, it's not. Because I have cooked and they have cooked a million times and nothing is
Mhm.
gonna happen. No, it's so real. It's so real. Are you or your best friend surviving the zombie apocalypse? I don't like the way it's phrased. I think it's if one of you had to go first, who's going first?
I'm going first. My best friend she's about to become a nurse in like 2 months.
Oh, so
So
she's
has like
she's
medical skills. she's honestly just like, I'm like kind of stubborn and she's definitely not as stubborn. So like I feel like she would just fare a lot better than me. Also
No, I
scared. So I would just run and hide and probably die immediately.
I think part of me is like I would just get scared and then like I would fully become like the girl in the horror movie that like hides in the room with the chainsaws and it's like, girl, you walked yourself into your own death. Or I would get
Mhm.
really cocky and be like, watch this. And then they just can't. Like I think I'm
I will
better than I
say, like,
am.
I've listened to many a true crime podcast, so I feel like that might
Oh,
help
I
me a little
can't.
bit just
Dude,
with
I
like the
can't get into those.
street smartness.
Let's break that down for a second. What is it about true crime? What is it? I gotta
I
ask
don't
everyone about it. What is it?
I I don't know. And you know what? This actually will make me sound like a psychopath, which I swear I'm not.
No,
But
no.
I will even like have it on like while I'm trying to fall asleep at night. Like I find the
And my
memes.
sister does that. And I think for me, and this is what I always say when it comes up in conversation, is like, I don't like it because I'm always the victim. It's always like the young girl in the big city and she lives alone. And it's like,
With the
I'm
bright
the
twinkly
victim.
eyes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, I'm always the victim. Like, I can't.
Yeah. I don't
No, like,
know. I
what
just
is
like a
it? Like,
good
I'm
little
so
mystery.
fascinated by the fact that people are like, this is a thing. Like, I kind of get like, God, I have a Midwest father, and he's big on the shows where they like tell you how they solved crimes. I kind of get that, because it's like they caught the bad guy in the end, but then there's the times that they don't,
Hmm.
and you're like, oh God, like,
They're still on the loose. Yeah. I
yeah,
don't know. I just, there's like, you have to be careful with true crime podcasts because I think a lot of them are like very, like, they kind of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but like certain ones are just not as good about like making it about the victim and not the like killer. You know what I mean?
right. I feel like there's a lot of ethics that go into it, and I think you have to be an ethically sound human being to host a true crime podcast.
Right.
And I've heard
So,
a lot of discourse about like true crime, like I don't know, like hosts or whatever. Like they'll just start talking, and then like the family's estate is like, that's not how it went down, or like that was really disrespectful or whatever.
mhm.
And I feel like there's just a lot of holes you have to fill before you can be like,
Yeah.
this is a story.
There
What
is
are the
one I
best
really like
ones?
called Morbid. That's like my favorite. I will say I've kind of, it's gone too far with the falling asleep listening to it because this summer I had to drive from Dallas to Austin
Is that
and
a
I
far
was,
drive? I've never
it's
been to
like
Texas.
it's like 3 hours
Oh,
and I
not
was
too
going to
bad,
visit
not
my
too bad.
friend and I was like, oh, I'll listen to some podcasts on the drive because it is a boring drive.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was like, okay. And I'm listening to the podcast and my eyes are like about to close. Like I cannot stay awake. It's fully like 1 p.m. and I cannot stay awake. And I couldn't figure out why I was so tired. And so finally I like stopped to pee and just kind of like get something with caffeine in it.
Right.
And I got back in the car and I was like, I'm just gonna blast Taylor Swift and
Of
maybe that'll help.
course.
And I think what happened was I like trained my brain to fall asleep to podcasts
No,
because I was fine the rest of the ride.
no, that's so valid. Like there is this podcast that my roommate and I put on because we like want to take a pivot. We do in fact have our beds are like in the same room, and it's like it has this like I don't even know what it's actually from, but it has this like song at the beginning of it before she like, cause she's like, "Hi, welcome back," and I heard that song like in a completely different context, and I was like, "Why am I all of a sudden exhausted?" It's like, it's the podcast song.
It's like was that Pavlov's dog or something?
Oh yeah, where he's like ring the bell and they yeah.
I did that to
Yeah.
myself with podcast.
With the true crime podcast. Dude, maybe I'll get a true crime specialist on here. Be like, we're actually taking a detour from the reason that this podcast exists. I just want to know what's happening. I just want
Yeah.
to know why we're doing this. Well, I guess we're straying from these questions because now that we're blasting Taylor Swift in the car, what's your favorite album? Let's talk about it.
Folklore is my favorite one.
I'm an Evermore girly. I think that
Okay.
okay. Just
You know, sisters.
sisters. What are your thoughts
Folklore,
on the theory that there was three of them? Like Woodvale or whatever the hell. I don't
I
think there
think people
ever
are
was.
delusional.
I don't think that there ever was. Like
but I can't even be like, oh, they're delusional, because that would be like acting as if I'm not frequently delusional when it comes to Taylor Swift.
Right. I don't necessarily subscribe to either of these theories, but I have an easier time believing that bleached hair Taylor had an album before there was a third Evermore folklore era.
That one makes
That's
sense too.
I don't necessarily agree with either, but like 50 years down the line, if they're like if there was like the lost album and like it was from the like bleach hair moment, I'd be like
Ella.
Bleachella, I'd be like, yeah, that tracked. That tracked.
Yeah.
Now, did you
I
go to eras?
oh, I was there because I go to ASU. We're in Arizona. Opening night. I have my little wristband right.
Pete! That's
Um,
oh
I was there.
no, my twin was telling me how she like violently tries to get tickets because my parents just moved back to Kansas City
Hmm.
and we are like not at all far from Arrowhead. Like we're not like close, but we're not like it's not that bad of a drive. Like it
Hmm.
wouldn't have been like we would have also had to get a hotel. But like she was like, dude, I was in that queue for like probably the whole day.
I was
And
in
Kansas City sold out
piano
like
class, and I had a quiz. But I was like, I told my professor beforehand, I was like, I'm in line for Taylor Swift tickets. So if it's my turn to do my piano quiz and I get in the queue, you're gonna have to skip me.
I was in a public speaking class like whenever the thing opened and there was this girl and she simply like she told her professor she's like I will not be there. She
Yeah,
didn't come to
and that's
class.
so
She's like
valid.
I will not be there.
And yeah, I was lucky enough to get tickets for opening night. Me and my roommate decided to go, and we were like, we're just gonna get cheap tickets. Like it is what
Yeah,
it is. So they were like the front row of the nosebleed section.
sure.
Um, and they were like $100, but it was so incredible and so amazing. And so when she announced that she was going back to the US
Yes.
this fall, me, my roommate, and my best friend decided we were going to try for tickets again. So we're
That's so
also going
exciting.
to New Orleans in October.
Yes. That's
It'll
so
be a
exciting.
little
So,
girls trip.
yes. Did you dress up?
I did a little like all black Reputation outfit.
Sure.
I don't know what I'm gonna do in October for New Orleans. I think my vision is the like that one VMAs look where she has like the like orange
The
like
tube
tube top
top with the
with like
skirt?
skirt.
Eat that up.
Hmm.
Dude, I am waiting for the TikTok transformation. No, I
Yeah,
I ended up going to I went to when I went to opening night when AMC had like the film
yeah.
and I like all of my friends like it was like a weird weekend and I think like it was like a 3-day weekend or something so like all my friends went home so I was like fuck it I'm going by myself like I'm not gonna
Hmm.
not go and like it was the sweetest thing because like these other group of because there's like a college right next to our college. It's called Drury, and so these girls from Drury that kind of adopted me, and then this little girl came up to me and she goes, "Are you dressed as Evermore Taylor too?" And I was like, "Yes."
Oh,
And this little girl who was probably 7 years old danced with us the entire night, and I was like, "This is
man.
it. I feel fulfilled." I was like, "I feel
Yeah.
fulfilled with this," and
I'm
it's
so
like
glad that is on Disney Plus now because I can just like turn it on. Like it's amazing.
oh, I know. Like we were just talking about how we're gonna throw like an Eras party at like the apartment and like watch it and it's gonna be like a moment.
Yeah.
Are
And also, super sorry, this is really
no, no,
sidetracked. This
no.
weekend, like, went out with my friends, came back. We were a little inebriated, as one is
No, of
after.
course, of course.
And what did we decide to do but have a Eras Tour dance party with it on? Like, you can just do that now.
You can just do that now. You can just do that now. And like when the live cuts came out, like or not the live cuts, but like the set list on Apple Music, there's been a couple weeks where I like pull up to my dance cardio classes and I'm like, I learned the Eras Tour choreography and we're doing it today.
I need to be in one of those
Oh, no,
classes.
pop in. No, we'll zoom you in one day. All right,
Yes.
we'll leave with like a really solid, interesting question. Let me
Okay.
find like a good one. I don't like any of these. I need to find the people that wrote the first one. Oh, okay, this one's fine. Okay. If you had $1 million and had to spend it in one day, what are you doing? This is some like what's that movie? Like Brewster's Millions or whatever. This is like that.
Mm-hmm. Um, You know that TikTok trend where it's like, if I won the lottery, like I won a
There would
ton
be
of
signs.
there would be signs. I made a video to that where it was just like the cheese section of like Trader Joe's. Like maybe that's
Me.
cheese is so expensive.
It's like I walk into the Trader Joe. We don't have Trader Joe's here, so it's a niche luxury that I have to go. I unfortunately do have to go home for, but like I will come to Arizona just for the Trader Joe's, and then the cheese wall is just empty.
Mm-hmm.
Be like Jackie was given her $1 million. She had to spend it today. Like
Yeah, it would probably honestly be on cheese, or like I'm just like a big foodie, so like I think I
no,
would.
you yeah. I would have you ever seen we're getting way off topic here. Have you ever seen The Bear?
I haven't, but I've heard I need to watch that.
Okay, it's really fucking beautiful. And the Christmas episode, it is like somewhere at the like middle of season 2 is the best episode of television that I've ever seen.
Okay.
Like it's very great, but there's an
It's
episode. So
about
they
like a
like
hot dog stand or like a beef stand, right? In
yeah,
Chicago.
so it's this restaurant called the Beef of Chicagoland, and they're like a sub like mom and dad like sandwich place.
Okay.
And basically this brother, like the main guy, like runs away to New York to like become a hot shot fine dining chef. And then when his brother dies, he comes back and like fixes up the restaurant, right? So, anyways, there's a scene in the second season where they're trying to revamp the restaurant into like this fine dining establishment. And he sends like his right-hand woman to just go eat food all around Chicago and just like catch a
Mhm.
vibe. And like that's what I would do. I would just pick a city and just eat for a week.
Chicago would be easy. I like was born there, and the food is so amazing, and I miss
Yeah, I was
it.
like, I'm not terribly far from Chicago, so I was like, I would pick Chicago, just like
Yeah,
reenact like this the opening of season 2, where it's just like Sydney just eating everywhere. It's like that
amazing.
amazing. So I think the consensus is that you and I would just be eating a lot of good food.
It would be a great day.
It'd be a great day. Oh my God, I forgot the question I asked the other day. Oh, I think I'd have to split mine up. I'd have to make a deal with the genie that's giving us $1 million. I don't think I could eat
Okay.
Chicago in a day, but
Yeah, I think it
I
would
guess you'd
it'd
have
be
to start early.
a marathon, not a sprint.
I think if you started, I think if it was like 12:01 to 11:59, I think
Yeah,
if you spread the whole thing out, we we could eat Chicago in a day. No,
I think
no,
so.
but definitely I'll watch Train the Virgin, you watch The Bear. We'll get back on season 3 and
Hmm.
it's just a television conversation.
It's gonna be about TV shows and food, and not all.
And not at all about like being a young professional in the arts. And I think honestly, that's the detour the podcast needs. Be like, actually, season 3 is just going to be us talking about unrelated things
Oh yeah,
to art. But yeah, I think I'm running out of time because I'm once again too broke for Zoom Pro. But thank you so much for joining on the podcast. I had to leave some time for my silly little outro. Thank you for listening, Jackie. Thank you for hopping on and
thank you
being
for having me.
an amazing interview guest. If you want to follow the journey, you can follow the podcast at BFA Baby Podcast or me at Tata's Ballet. Jackie, where can we find you?
On the socials at Jackie with 3 E's Marotta.
Jackie with 3 E's. Lovely, 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 lovely. Well, thank you for listening. I hope to talk to you back in the podcast soon. And I think
Absolutely.
that's all. You have any closing thoughts?
Um, no.
Lovely. Well, thank you for listening. Do you want to blow a kiss at the end? We
Yes.
say merit and a kiss. Mwah! Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Bye.